Hey guys, Alex Burton with Ultimate Outdoorsman. My last podcast episode, which was episode 3 and aired last Wednesday, was on kayak modifications that I did my own to make my fishing out of it easier. One of the items I talked about was my collapsible anchor system, where basically I use an extension cord and wrap my rope and stuff around it when I'm deploying it and retrieving it back in. So I just wanted to show you guys how I did that and how I tied my line onto my anchor and as well as how I got the float and stuff on there. So follow along with me and I'll show you all how I did that. Okay guys, now this is how I set my system up. This is the collapsible anchor that I use. It is 3 pounds and I picked it up from Academy for about $10. Never had any issues with it. It's always kept a good grip on the bottom and the places I fish and things. So it's really worked out for the price that I got it for. All I got to do is twist this cap up and the arms fall back out and I'll drop it over the side to deploy it. When I'm done, I'll pull it back in, rinse the mud and whatever off of it in the water, and then I can just collapse it back in. Put that cap back down on it and twist it, and it locks them back in. After I'm done with that, I'll take this end of it and I'll actually slide it down into one of the flush mount fishing pole holders I have behind my seat, and that just keeps it back out of the way, ready to go when I need it. Along with that, I have one of these orange floats. These are actually for like crab baskets and stuff. You can pick these up from Academy too. I believe I got this for like $1, I think is all it costs. I have one carabiner that I got in a pack. And then these are just cheapo extension cord wraps is what they are, just for keeping your extension cords organized. But I'll take my rope and actually wrap it around this, and I'll show you all how I'll do that as well. Okay, the first thing you got to do is attach your rope to your anchor. So you don't have to have one of these swivel anchor points. I like having one on mine, so it came with it. I threw it on there when I had it. So I mean, you don't have to have it on. You can tie your rope directly through the hole there. But to attach your rope, what I like to use is an anchor bend knot. So over here, I've got about 30 foot or so of rope I'm going to use. To tie the anchor bend knot, what you'll do is you're going to go from the back, you'll wrap this up, and then back around once like that. So you should have a loop here, one big loop there, just like that. You'll go back behind your main lead, and then pull it a little tighter, and then inside here, and then pull it, and then you'll just tighten that down. That by itself is pretty strong, but then I'll go ahead and take what's left on this tag end here and just tie a couple overhand knots just to help secure it a little more. So that anchor is not coming off this rope unless it just gets broken off some other way at some weak point in the rope or something else. So I said that's the knot I use to attach my anchor to it, and I've never had any issues with it. So that's part one. The next part here, I'll show you how I add the float and the carabiner on and attach it to my extension cord wrap here. Okay, after you've got your rope tied onto your anchor, the next thing you're going to do is secure your float and carabiner onto your wrap here. So mine's got little holes in it already. If yours doesn't, you might have to drill one in there, or you can just figure out a similar way to attach it on there. But all I'll do is just feed it through this hole here in the corner. And you want to feed a little more than a foot off of it. And I just tie an overhand knot just so it's secured onto it, just like that. Once you do that part, grab your float, feed your rope through it, and just let it slide down on there. And then all you're going to do after that is make an overhand knot loop, just big enough to clip your carabiner to. And that will stop from going down in your rope or your rope from going down in your hole, but it won't really matter because once you get this carabiner clipped on there, there's no way it's pulling back through anyway. So that's how I set my float system up. So basically all this does is if I'm anchored down and something happens where I have to unhook my anchor, I can grab that carabiner, unhook my anchor off, and just flip it off to the side. And it will just sit there and float in the water until I make my way back around and pick it back up, clip it back to my kayak, do whatever. So after you get all that on there, all you'll have to do next is just wrap all your rope back onto it. So you'll just nice even pattern here, just start wrapping your rope back on. Now, once you get it all wrapped on there, usually I'll just take it and I got these little teeth here. I'll just hook it in there. And then I'll just drop it into what I said. When I'm ready to deploy it, I'll just unwrap as much as I need and do the same thing. Once I get anchored down there, I'll take my rope and stick it back inside these teeth, and it keeps everything nice, evenly situated, and good to go for you there. And I also use the carabiner end instead of tying it off to a cleat on my kayak because I do have the anchor trolley system on mine. So this makes it so much faster just to clip things on, go with it, and then I can just fish in one spot for a while, and then I'll just reel it all back up neatly onto my spool here, and then slide that back down into my little flush mount fishing pole holder and paddle on to my next spot. So that's how I did that, guys. I hope that was a little more clear than I did in the podcast. I didn't know if I explained it that well, so I thought a visual would be a lot better for y'all. But once again, this is Alex Burton with the Ultimate Outdoorsman. I hope you enjoyed today's quick tip, and I'll talk to y'all again next time.